the NBA division I'm going to talk about today is the Atlantic Division, which is in the Eastern Conference, and that is home to 5 teams. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 of which made the playoffs last season, and one of which was NBA champion. Yes, that is correct. The Raptors, 76ers, Celtics, Nets, and Knicks are all in that Atlantic Division in the Eastern Conference. So why not start with the team at the top that won the championship, had the best record out of all those teams, Toronto Raptors. So they're there. Alright, they're obviously the champions, but they're not the same caliber, obviously, with Kawhi Leonard leaving. And yeah, I mean, they're obviously not going to win the championship this year, but they still have some pieces there. They still have Pascal Siakam, Marc Gasol, Fred VanVleet, Kyle Lowry on a 1-year deal. They still have pieces. They obviously have Patrick McCaw, who has been to back 3-peat titles. Yes, I know that that's been going around. I keep up with stuff like that. It is funny. So what is their plan going into the season? What is their what now that we have won the championship? It all starts with Pascal Siakam. He's young. And it's all about grooming him from a budding star, from a rising star, into a full star, and into a complete number 1 option. And overall, I think this should go pretty well. It should be pretty smooth, especially since they have a couple veterans on that team. They have Kyle Lowry, Marc Gasol, and Serge Ibaka. So the grooming process for Pascal Siakam, especially as a big man, should be pretty smooth, pretty nice. And now from there, it becomes about pairing him up with the younger pieces. You got Fred VanVleet, Rondae Hollis-Jefferson. You got OG Anunoby. It's all about building those guys up too, not necessarily to be stars, because let's be honest, those guys aren't really stars, but into players that fit alongside Pascal Siakam really, really well. And I think that they already have that too. And so it's all about getting better and better and better and progressing them and building chemistry even more without Kawhi Leonard to rely on. That's really the big plan for them. Now for their goal for the season to look back and say, hey, we accomplished something, I think at this point it's really making the playoffs with a young crew, hopefully getting a high seed for them, hopefully winning a series. That's really the main goal, getting to the playoffs with Pascal Siakam leading them. And the goal really is more of a long-term goal rather than a look at the end of the season for them. It's more of, can we become a real title contender in 2 years with Pascal Siakam leading us? If they can accomplish that in 2 years, then they've accomplished their goal. They've accomplished what they needed to do this season and next season and the year after that. Their goal is, for this season, just get playoff experience. Yes, they already had playoff experience, but that was with Kawhi Leonard. You're starting from scratch now. Blank slate. Can you get playoff experience with Pascal Siakam and Fred VanVleet leading the charge? And yes, Kyle Lowry's there, but he's not leading the charge anymore. That's the main goal. Next, I have the Philadelphia 76ers, and they're interesting. They are very, very interesting. They almost made it to the Eastern Conference Finals, and if they did, I think that they would have been a better match for the Bucks in the sense that they would have been a bit weaker than the 76. That they would have been weaker than the Raptors, because the Raptors just, yes, they went not too well, but then they just blasted off after that. I think that if it was the 76ers and the Bucks, had been a bit more entertaining, back and forth tug of war, going to maybe Game 7. But I think that the 76ers, they almost made it to the Eastern Conference Finals to play against the Milwaukee Bucks. Of course, they didn't because of Kawhi's clutch shot, whatever you want to call it, his version, the triple, quadruple doink. Their pretty much championship trophy hopes were killed by that shot. But Now the idea is, what now? They lost Jimmy Butler. What now? They got Josh Richardson. They got Al Horford. They beefed up on defense. And I think that now it's about using that defense, that length, figuring out that rotation with Embiid, Horford, Tobias Harris, Josh Richardson, Ben Simmons. Figuring out that rotation, which is going to be more defensive heavy, and figuring out the offense around that rotation. Especially with figuring out how they're going to produce in late game situations, because last season they were not great in late game situations, mainly because Ben Simmons could not shoot. However, we've seen videos of him being able to shoot now from deep three. So if he's able to do that on a consistent basis, hopefully the 76ers team looks a lot better, plays a lot better, functions a lot better, and can actually get to the finals. And that's their goal, ultimately. This season is not about, oh, we made it to the playoffs, we got some nice experience, we're tinkering with some stuff. No, this season is about getting to the finals. And at bare minimum, getting to Eastern Conference playoffs. Or Eastern Conference finals. My brain is not working today. Getting to the Eastern Conference final at the bare minimum. Because the only other team that's really on their level and that took a hit was the Milwaukee Bucks. So they have a real shot at getting to the finals. And now it's all about just making sure that offense works, especially in late game situations. Okay, for the Boston Celtics now. They lost, just to recap, they lost Kyrie Irving, they lost Terry Rozier, they lost Al Horford, they lost a couple players. Biggest of which, like I mentioned before, Kyrie Irving and Terry Rozier. But they picked up Kemba Walker. They did pick up Kemba Walker, who I believe can actually be a nice fit for them, especially since he's not as, I would say, passionate in his own way as Kyrie Irving. Because Kyrie Irving's like, give me the ball and I'll go ISO-centric. No, Kemba wants to win, and you'll win by any means necessary, even if that means giving up the ball. I believe that. But the what now is dealing with Kemba. I know that goes back on what I said, but just hear me out. I believe that they're going to struggle a bit with Kemba Walker to start off with. I think Kemba has to break some bad habits that he built up in Charlotte, mainly of which is not completely his fault for building up those bad habits, because he was the star of the Hornets for quite some time, and he had to do whatever it took to win, and he had to ball hog sometimes. He had to be like, give me the rock and let me just hoop and score. Because I know none of you guys are able to put the ball in the hoop. And so I think he has to break that bad habit and become more team ball movement centric. Become more of what Brad Stevens wants in the team's system for their game plan, which is more team oriented. And that goes for the whole team, really, with Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. Jason Tatum took a second-year dip. Jaylen Brown was all right throughout the season. He had his moments, had his bumps for sure. But I think for all of them, it's more of becoming a more team playing basketball team rather than an ISO-centric basketball team. Tatum went full, that whole Celtics team last year went full ISO-centric. Jason Tatum was trying to do what Kobe taught him to do, but to the extreme, just going one-on-one, taking bad shots. Jaylen Brown did some of that too, not really so much. Kemba has done the whole same thing in Charlotte for however long he's been there, but they can't do that ISO ball anymore. They gotta function as a team, get other people involved, because that gets everyone involved. Teammates, bench, coach, fans, everyone. I believe that they'll be fine for this season, but they'll struggle a bit. They won't be title contenders, but their main goal will be getting to the playoffs, developing Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown into what they look like they could be, or what their potential looks like it could be. And also on that note, scoring-wise, I think overall that they would like Kemba Walker, Jason Tatum, and Jaylen Brown to be the three-headed monster. Well, mini monster, really. And as a trio, average a combined 60 points per game. I think that's what their hope is. Reality-wise, probably not going to happen. But it's all about the growth and development of Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown as scorers, but also team-centric players, as well as putting Kemba Walker there as a leader to get them to the playoffs. And that's their main goal, to get to the playoffs and compete. I digress. Alright. Next I have the Brooklyn Nets, and for them it's pretty cut and dry. Brooklyn Nets and then the New York Knicks is pretty cut and dry. Brooklyn Nets, they got Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, DeAndre Jordan. We all know the story with Kevin Durant. He's injured, he's out potentially for the whole season. Still unsure whether he's going to be out for the whole season, definitely, or if he's going to maybe come back if they get to the postseason and are real contenders. They obviously lost D'Angelo Russell to the Golden State Warriors. And I think that for the Nets, their plan is pretty cut and dry. All of it's just getting healthy and develop chemistry. There we go. They had that young group. I almost said talented. They are talented. They had that young, talented group last season that had tremendous chemistry. Over 100% chemistry. Maybe even more than 100%. They were dancing on the bench as a team. They were celebrating. They were supporting each other. All that stuff. I think that Kyrie needs to take it into his own hands and make sure that he develops a chemistry with that whole team, especially after the damage that he did in Boston. Especially after that. To not only untarnish his name, but so that that team is set up for when KD comes. So that it's an easier transition from Kyrie as the sole leader to Kevin Durant as the now leader. And I think that game plan wise, Kyrie needs to do what he's always done in developing a good pick and roll game with DeAndre Jordan, Jarrett Allen, with the bigs. But at the same time, he has to get other people involved on that team. So, this whole season really depends on Kyrie Irving, on whether he is up to the challenge of leaving what he did in Boston behind and moving on and learning from his mistakes. Their goal for the season, pretty simple, playoffs. Getting to the playoffs, really. And I want to say that their goal is to get a top 4 seed. Top 4 seed, potentially get into a spot where they can compete. And at that point, you may be able to bring Kevin Durant in. But I would say, don't rush him. At all. At all. Only put him in if it's 100% guaranteed that he cannot re-injure his Achilles or quads or anything like that, and that his injury risk goes down to a normal injury risk that just comes with playing basketball, rather than a higher risk that comes with coming off an injury. I would say preserve him for the following season. That way you can really, really compete. So, their goal, make the playoffs, top 4 seed, possibly, and maybe get in a position where KD's completely healthy and maybe compete for a championship this year. But everything's going to be set up for here on out. If you can't do that, just plan from here on out for next season. It's all about the future for the Nets. Now for the New York Knicks. I mean, they lost. I don't even know who they lost. They didn't lose anyone, really. I guess Courtney Lee, right? He's with the Mavericks now. But they picked up Taj Gibson, Bobby Portis, Julius Randle, RJ Barrett from the draft. I mean, their plan for the season and their goal for the season is pretty much the exact same thing. Develop a nice duo or chemistry, or both, preferably both, between RJ Barrett and Julius Randle. That's pretty much it. And while doing that, their goal and plan also is to keep RJ Barrett from ball hogging or basically going full what Kemba Walker had to do in Charlotte, which is just take the ball and try to carry the whole team, which is impossible to do. You can't do it. You really can't do it. You need to have talent and more pieces around you in order for you to actually do that. So at this point, it's just getting that duo of RJ Barrett and Julius Randle to get going. That's really it. That's really, really, really it.